For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's PRPs. This is our second summer report. They've been kind of spread out just because we haven't been able to talk to the players or see much of PRPs in June, but it's July, which means we can now talk to players. So we'll be talking about what we talked about with those guys. But first, Dan, let's start off with today's PRP. What were your observations from the team?
Well, I think the first thing you have to say is JT Daniels is back, and they're being forced to do the work that they normally did on the grass at Howard Jones, because I mean they cut it really short last week. It looked like a putting green, and they weren't able to work on it Thursday, and I think very wisely not work on it today and have off for the 4th of July. So they came over to Cromwell Field, and with JT Daniels back from the Manning Passing Academy, where he was, I guess, Thursday through Sunday, it's an altogether different look. I mean, and one thing, they're still not letting us onto Cromwell Field or Laker Stadium to watch, but you can watch through the fence, and they got a lot more done with JT here today. Matt Fink still isn't back with the surgery he had on his knee, but he's sort of like almost a grad assistant out there, kind of helping, direct things. But they get more done when JT's there. And the thing you notice with them is I think there are 7 receivers, tight ends and wide receivers, who are 6'4" or 6'5", or if we count Mr. Fallow at 6'6". I mean, that's you are impressed if you're on the same level with those guys when they're throwing and catching, that they've got a lot of rangy, big, tall guys that it's going to be interesting to see, how people are going to defend them, because I don't know that they've ever had, a crew with that many receivers that big.
True, yeah. As you mentioned, JT Daniels went to the Manning Passing Academy last weekend. What did the sophomore quarterback have to say about his experience there?
Well, he took a lot of notes, which is, of course, he takes a lot of notes each day in the quarterback room. They're trying to kind of calm him down on the note-taking. But I think it was interesting because I mentioned that the way, Peyton and Eli Manning, and really Archie, who's before everybody's time, but was an unbelievably great quarterback at Ole Miss and for the New Orleans Saints. The way they played it is not the way he's going to be playing it. And so JT, said he spent a lot of time with a guy like Mason Fine, the quarterback at North Texas, who, everybody expects so much of, and has been coached by Graham Harrell the last couple of years. So I think he got a lot out of that. I mean, he said he did get some things about preparing for the season and how you do that as a quarterback, and some practice things. But the approach to, when you said, the way the Mannings approach playing quarterback, and you're going to be doing it this year, completely different. He said absolutely, just couldn't be more different. But he, with 40 quarterbacks, college quarterbacks down there at the the academy, where they serve as instructors for all the high school kids, he thought it was just a wonderful experience.
Awesome. Well, a tradition that we've seen every PRP is that the older players kind of take younger, new freshman players under their wing, kind of guide them through the process of what a PRP is, what is their offense or defense like, and that's what John Huston is doing so far. It seems like that is actually helping John Huston in the process, right?
That's what he said. I mean, he said, I went into this year trying to be more of a vocal leader and more, not just playing within myself. And, as a senior, that's what you do. But he said it's really helping him bringing along the freshmen into the defense. And as much as they talk about, simplifying the defense and changing, and he said it's the same defense. Basically, maybe the terminology is shortened up a little bit, and that's, that part is simpler. And but he said he feels like he has a much better mastery of it because he's now teaching it to the young guys. And he said that's kind of really helping him feel like, I really know what I'm doing out there. And he looks good. He's 225 pounds. I know, some people think, is that big enough to play, in the middle? I think the way they're going to try to play that position and the way they're going to try to run him through gaps and all the things they're going to do with him, I think it's probably big enough. He's not your classic middle linebacker, but at 225, he's not going to be more than 10 pounds, say less than Cam Smith, who dropped weight to get quicker last year than Cam Smith was last year, and he's got a lot more ability to run from sideline to sideline or get to the quarterback, I think.
As far as Clancy Pendergast's defense goes, does it concern you at all that John Huston's essentially saying it's not as simplified as maybe it was branded to be in spring?
I kind of think we all maybe suspected that might be the case, that they weren't going to really come up with a completely new defense. I mean, if they can take what they were trying to do last year, I mean, you don't want to take that defense they trotted out against UCLA and do anything with that other than get rid of it or get it right. I mean, I know they're trying to play the down linemen where they have much more gap integrity and where they get the run fits right and all that. I mean, I think the ideas can be good, but you really have to teach it. You've got to get them to where they believe in it and where they do it every play with every guy, all 11 guys. And I think that's the key. But and I think there probably is an advantage to not trying to do something new this year. I mean, to try to take what you've been the defense that they've been playing the last couple of years and try to get it as perfected as possible. But keep it as simple as you can. And the second part of that is get enough guys that you trust in a rotation so that you don't have to feel like I can only play 13 or 14 because I don't know what the other guys are going to do. That's a confidence level that we didn't see last year that we wish we'd have seen.
Mm-hmm. I got to talk to Michael Pittman today. It's clear that he has kind of taken up the leadership role, as you described it, the mother hen role of this team. But he says that there's other leaders around. He doesn't want to take sole credit for being the leader. But he described the team as being more united. He said the big difference is Aaron Osmus and how that is uniting the team. He said sometimes it was easy to get into factions. He didn't want to say the word cliques, but something of that sort during the weight room process. He said now Aaron Osmus mixes up everyone so that you're with people who you didn't normally talk to. So I think, and we heard from other players as well, Aaron Osmus has had a positive impact on this team so far this offseason.
Yeah, and I think one of the guys we keep up with is Brett Nealon, who always lets us know he's hanging in there at 300 pounds. He finally got, after a couple of years, he got to 300 pounds, and he's keeping the weight on. And then the other day he got, in the clean, he got his personal best, 366 pounds. And like a lot of the guys, I think we're going for, PRs. And the rest of their teammates were cheering them on. And I thought that was kind of cool. Defensive guys, everybody, cheering on the offensive guys and vice versa. And I think that's a, kind of a sign of where this team is a little different. I think they're doing more kind of old school, putting guys on teams and competing and just doing things that are kind of tried and true, traditional, they work. And these guys are really responding, it looks like, are responding really well. They certainly believe that this is the right way to go and that they're responding well. So, we'll see. But, the numbers seem to back up that the guys you want bigger and stronger look like they're bigger and stronger. And some of the other guys have leaned out, kind of the way you want them to.
Yeah. I asked Pittman if he's figured out what went wrong in 2018, if this team has. And he says it still bothers him that he hasn't been able to fully pinpoint what went wrong. But as we talked longer, he kind of got to a reasoning that, the USC's offense, everything had to go right for it to go right. And so he was saying that now Graham Harrell's offense makes it a little bit easier. It doesn't have to, everything has to go perfectly in order to get a playoff. So as far as figuring out what went wrong in 2018, how critical is that for this team? Is it important, or wouldn't Graham Harrell is that kind of a wash?
I think what's important is there's nobody you talk to who doesn't eventually mention 5 and 7. Yeah. It's just it's in the back of their heads. I mean, they know what happened last year, and if they're not into exactly pinpointing why, they know that anything that reminds them of last year has to be, something that gets them to say never again. And we're not going to, do that, whether they have the ability to just absolutely, locate all of the issues and deal with them. they know that 5-7. It's just not going to leave them. I mean, there's just nobody who doesn't eventually say they have to get rid of that 5-7. It's there, and they don't want to have to deal with something like that again.
Yeah. Alrighty. Any final notes, important tidbits from our interviews today that you'd want to add in this report?
No, I think it was kind of a quick, they're trying to, keep it moving so we don't have, kind of unlimited time with them and all that. And we'll try to, alternate and do different guys, after every practice. But it was good to get them once before, they hit the 4th of July. And you do, I mean, it's still a young team. You still have this sense that there's some young guys. You don't have that. Last year, it seemed like there were more older guys. This year, but, a guy like J.T. Daniels or a guy like John Huston just seems like they're in a much different place than they were last year. And that's kind of a good thing. But every time you talk to them, you realize it's still a pretty young team.
Yeah, agreed. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up. We're in the shade of Heritage Hall because it's pretty hot out today, but that's going to wrap it up for our second summer report of USC's PRPs. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.